Hi guys, I'm Shannon and this is Shannon Kate Reads Stuff. I'm just going to do a quick little wrap up of 4 books that I have to take back to the library right now, and then we will get into, once I get back, the rest of the stuff I've got for the library and the 3 books that I'm picking up today. So first we have a DNF, and that is The Woman in the Waves by Camille Booker. I DNF'd this after, I think I got up to page 5 or something. It's not at all what I thought it was. It's probably going to be a great book if you love historical fiction with some magical realism kind of stuff and a lot of trauma, apparently, in it. But yeah, I didn't actually realise that this was set in 1921. And I just didn't like the vibe at all. The next one is David, I don't know how to pronounce this, I'll probably butcher it. I just want to say Zalay, Flesh. This is a book about Istvan, and it follows him through his life and the sort of misadventures and adventures that he gets up to. I hated the main character in this. He just lets stuff happen, and then when it doesn't turn out, and it doesn't ever turn out, he's kind of like, oh my goodness, who would have thought that this could have occurred from my lack of action? So yeah, the book has some kind of deep, dark stuff that occurs within it. There's a lot of affairs. He sleeps with a lot of married women. But yeah, he's not very nice, and he's kind of ineffectual at life, just kind of bumbling along. But the writing, the prose in this, it's so tense, and it's just, it really draws you in. You can hate the character and still absolutely love the book. I read this in one sitting. It was just, I started reading it, I was like, oh, straight male characters written by straight male men. But then yeah, I got totally suckered into it and really enjoyed it. Apparently, people are saying it's going to be a Booker nominee, so we'll see what happens with that. But yeah, if you have a chance to pick this one up, highly recommend. It was a 5-star for me. Carmen Maria Machado's In the Dream House. I have been waiting to read this for so long. I read her short story collection, which is My Body and Other Parties? Her Body and Other Parties. And I really enjoyed that. I thought that was really well put together. The stories were engaging, a little horrifying. And yeah, it was a really good collection. This is non-fiction, and it's about a relationship that she has with another woman that turns very abusive. If you want to know who the other woman is, just Google her name and partner, and it will tell you, which I thought was really quite interesting. But yeah, this wasn't as good as I anticipated. It's very vague on the actual abuse that happens, and you kind of, I was left thinking, oh, was this as bad as she made it out to be? I mean, of course, any abuse, physical, mental, psychological, emotional, whatever, you shouldn't have to put up with that ever. But to be so wildly affected by it that you feel the need to write a book, there's a kind of mismatch there. But I think that's purely because she doesn't actually want to get into the nitty-gritty of what actually happened. I imagine there would be some kind of is it libel or slander? I never remember which one's written. Stuff around that, given that it's so easy to find out who her partner was at the time. So yeah, it kind of glosses over a lot of stuff, and it's really her inside her head a lot of the time. And I don't know. I just didn't enjoy my time with this book at all. I thought it was quite boring. So yeah, so this was a 3-star read for me. Foreign Country got 4 stars. This is a new book out by Maria. I'm going to butcher this one. It's Perachich, I think. I heard Daniel Duke say it a lot, and it doesn't roll off the tongue for me with my very Australian accent. This is a story of Elle and Eva. They are sisters, and Eva arrives back in Australia after a time estranged from her sister to find her sister dead. That's not a spoiler. It's on the back. Happens in the first 5 pages. And then, yeah, it's just the story of Eva going through, packing up her sister's things, trying to find the deed to the house, her will, all of that documentation amongst the absolute horde of clutter that is left in this house, and what she uncovers about her sister along the way. I really enjoyed this. Maria is lovely. I also read her Exquisite Corpse at the start of the year in one sitting. I read this in one sitting. And Exquisite Corpse is terrifying, especially given it's based on a true historical figure. And it just kind of gets worse as the book goes on, in the best kind of way. But yeah, 4 stars for this one. It was lovely. And now I'm going to take these back to the library and pick up some other books, and then we will go through all of them. So see you in a minute when my hair is more dry. Okay, so it's a little later on now. The hair is dry, a little fuzzy. The dog wants to join us. You coming? And I have some new books. So these are obviously ones I got from the library that I haven't read yet. So I'm just going to go through each one and read the synopsis to and why I wanted to get it. I will just point out, I also got this massive DIY book because this weekend we're planning to sort of fix the house up a little bit for the next rent inspection that we have, which involves drilling holes in the walls, which I haven't really done before. So we'll see how that goes. Also, I had to put a jumper on because it is bloody freezing in Perth at the moment. It's like 6 degrees or something in my house, which is not fun. So first I want to talk about The Garden by Nick Newman. The synopsis is, in a place and time unknown, 2 elderly sisters live in a large walled garden, secluded from the outside world. For as long as they can remember, Evelyn and Lily have only had each other. What comes before the garden they have forgotten, and what lies beyond it they do not know. Each day is spent in service to their home, dutifully following the instructions in the almanac left by their mother. They plant, they harvest, they tend the bees. They believe they are now totally and I can't say it. Editing Shannon here. It's irrevocably. Cheers. They believe they are now totally alone. So when a nameless boy is found in the crumbling house at the centre of their grounds, the reality of their existence is shattered. Who is he? Where did he come from? And most importantly, what does he want? So I started reading this today at the pub. I will stick a little clip in of me reading. Also enjoying a Bolter Brewing Hazy IPA, which was very nice. So yes, I'm sort of like this much through. Yes, I dog ear. Don't hold it against me. I just grabbed this because it was on the new books shelf at the library, and it's great. It's fantastically written. It's like got me on edge already. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to seeing what happens. So we'll start from this side. Silken Gazelles I've had on my to-be read for so long. It's by Joka Al-Hathi. Again, I will probably butcher most of these names. And Joka is an International Booker Prize winning author. Reza's sisters, Ghazala is devastated when her friend Asiya is forced to leave their small mountainside village. It is a separation that haunts her into adulthood, and she never gives up on finding a love that might replace the bond they shared. Years later, Ghazala's family moves to Muscat, where she falls in love with a professional violinist who lives in their building. She surrenders herself completely to his charm and, despite her parents' opposition, runs away from home to marry him. While balancing the duties of a new wife, caring for her husband, their home, and before long, their twin boys, Ghazala resumes her education and enrolls in university. Ghazala's sharp wit catches the attention of another student, Haria, during their freshman year. In the pages of her diary, Haria recounts the story of her deepening, transformative friendship with Ghazala over the course of 10 years. The elusive, ghostly existence of Azaya exerts a force over both their lives, yet neither Ghazala nor Haria is aware of the connection. And it says it's a tale of childhood friendship and how its significance and loss can be recalibrated at different stages of life. So I got recommended this one as sort of a semi-sapphic kind of, I think it's more longing and friendship than like scissoring. But yeah, it's translated from the Arabic by Marilyn Booth, and I just thought this one sounded amazing. Next is Pomegranate by Helen Elaine Lee. So this one says, as she wraps up her 4-year sentence for opioid possession at Oak Hills Correctional Centre, Renita Atwater is determined to stay clean and regain custody of her 2 children from her aunts who have been raising them. Leaving behind her lover, Maxine, who has helped awaken and inspire her, she must face a world of temptations and confront the wounds that refuse to stay buried as she embarks on a journey of healing and autonomy. In lyrical and masterful prose, Helen Elaine Lee paints an unflinching portrait of the devastating effects of addiction, racism, incarceration, and misogyny, and one woman's fierce determination to choose life. I just thought this would be really good. Lots of heavy themes. But yeah, we'll see how we go. Next is a tiny little one by Elfie Shiosaki. And this is a love letter to the Noongar Nation on the eve of the bicentenary of the state of Western Australia. Burning with rage and love for the Belia waters which flow through Perth, Refugia is an intense examination of memory and the national narratives which shape our understanding of time and place. And Elfie is a Noongar and Yawuru author and researcher. I also have it's down there somewhere. I have her first one, Homecoming. I have her first collection. This actually might be Refugia. I'm not sure how to pronounce it. Beautiful cover, absolutely stunning. Very, very short poetry collection. I live in the Noongar Nation. I am in Bujarab country, which is sort of halfway south and to the coast. Yeah, we're about an hour south of Perth here. So yeah, it will be good to read this. Next is Half Truth by Nadia Majuri. And this comes highly recommended. I think Simon reviewed this or suggested it in one of his latest videos. But I've seen it all around the place, so I'm really glad my library could get it for me. Kadia is packing up her home of 50 years. In her box of special things are the last reminders she has of her son, Ahmed, missing for more than 20 years. Her belongings take her back to her village childhood, her marriage, and move to Marrakesh. In Tasmania, Zara is in the throes of new motherhood and desperate for answers about her own identity. She decides to take her baby to Morocco and search for the father she has never known. There she finds an extensive loving family and a culture ready to embrace her, but no father. Zara and Kadia's stories collide, giving Kadia the power to move on and Zara the courage to embrace her identity as a mother and Moroccan-Australian woman ready to create a fulfilling life for her son and herself. So yeah, it's and the author is obviously an Australian Moroccan woman. She lives in Hobart, according to this, and this is a debut. I just love books about Australian immigrants or the children of Australian immigrants. I'm first gen Australian on both sides, but my parents come from the UK, so it's not really that different, I guess. And yeah, I just thought this was really nice. And as an idea of like sort of finding your background, but also taking your children to go with you to find your background. The next one is from New Zealand. I'm not sure if this is really a sequel or if it is, oh no, yeah, follow-up novel. I'm not going to try and pronounce the first one that Becky Manawatu did, but I got it as an ARC a couple of months before it came out, and it gripped me. It was just, yeah, it was an amazing novel. 8-year-old Arama was taken by his brother to Kuri to live with their aunt and uncles Kat and Stu at a farm in Kaikoura, setting in motion the ensuing tragedy that unfolded, which resulted in Stu's death. Auntie Kat was at the centre of events, but silenced by abuse, her voice was absent from the story. In Katarina, Kat and her whānau take over the telling. As one, the family recounts her childhood and the time when she first began to feel the greenness of the swamp in her veins, the swamp that holds her tears, and the tears of generations of her tupuna that came before her, the swamp on the land owned by Stu that has been growing since the day the girl shot the man. Unflinching in its portrayal of intergenerational trauma and violence, tender in its harnessing of the hope that future generations represent, Katarina is a stunning novel that confirms Becky Manawatu as one of the most talented and powerful writers working in Aotearoa, New Zealand today. And again, I would have butchered the pronunciation of all the Indigenous words in that, and for that I am very apologetic. So yeah, I am really looking forward to this one. Also, the cover is lovely. More New Zealand Indigenous stories need to be told, I think. So yeah, this is really cool. Next is The Last Wild Horses by Maya Lund. I am this much into this. It's 3 stories. Yeah, St. Petersburg, 1881, Mongolia, 1992, and Norway, 2064. A zoologist, a veterinarian, and an average Norwegian family in an apocalyptic Europe are bound together by unusual circumstances and an even more unusual horse breed, the fabled Przewalski of Mongolia. I was a horse girl growing up, and I'm only a little bit ashamed to admit it. So this sort of caught my eye. I'm not really enjoying the middle story, the Mongolia 1992. Yeah, I feel it's less about horses and more about the characters, which, like, yeah, I get the whole book is meant to be like about the characters, but the other 2 stories are very sort of horse focused, and the middle story is more, woe is me, my life is not where I quite want it to be at this point anyway, but I will finish it. I like Maya Lund. I've got a couple of hers over there where you can't see them. The History of Bees and The End of, what is that going to be? The End of the Ocean is the other one that I own. And there is also another one by her that we will jump to, which is The Dream of a Tree. Longyearbyen, 2110. Far to the north is a massive vault filled with seeds from every corner of the earth. Tommy grows up in the brutal landscape of Spitsbergen, and though it has been many years since they cut off contact with other countries, they live in harmony with nature. But when Longyearbyen is hit by a disaster, Tommy and his family are among the few survivors. At the same time, far away, Teo is numb with sadness. Like the rest of her people, she is hungry, trapped in an impoverished land. But everything changes the day Teo is asked to lead an expedition to find Spitsbergen and its legendary seeds. chilling tale about responsibility of the present. Past, present, and future are woven together. Do we deserve to be masters of nature? And are we too an endangered species? So yeah, you may notice that Maya Lund writes climate fic, dystopian climate fic, futuristic climate fic. Anyway, it's very good. And that is like a genre that we all should be getting into right now, if only just to get some hints about what we should do over the next decade as these climate crises actually unfold before our eyes. I'm also reading at the moment, it's in the other room, so I won't go and grab it, but it is Awake in the Floating City. I'm not sure who it's by. I'll pop it on the screen. And that's also a climate crisis book about California, and it is raining constantly now in California, and elsewhere in the world there is a lot of drought. But in California, it's constantly raining, so it's constantly flooding, and everything is like moldy and stuff, and damp. And the book it kind of gives this sense of like mold and damp, and you don't see sun, and everything's a little bit wilty because there's no UV. And yeah, and it's the story of this girl called Bo, and she has stayed in this city to look after this older woman, Mia, who is also Chinese. And yeah, it's kind of like a very slow going book. Again, character study. I'm enjoying it, but also, yeah, it's very, very slow. Okay, cool. So next is Sally Piper, Bone Memories, which has been on my TBR for like about, I don't know, when did it come out? 2022. So it's been on my list for 3 years now. Even though 16 years have passed, Billy will never recover from the murder of her daughter Jess and clings to her memory and the sight of her death like a life raft. Daniel, who was a toddler when his mother was killed, can recall little of what happened, but knows if he's to have any chance of a better future, he needs to move on from that defining event, if only his grandmother would let him. Meanwhile, Daniel's stepmother Carla also feels trapped by Jess's legacy, but has a plan she believes will help everyone escape from the long shadow of the past. I think this is going to be really good. I hear that it has like some actual kind of forensic-y stuff in it, which I'm keen to look at. I did forensic anthropology for a while, like just studied it. I didn't actually work as one before I just gave my heart and soul to cultural anthro. And yeah, I think this is right up my alley. The next one is The House of Mirrors by Erin Kelly. Check that out. A dark and suspenseful novel about deadly family secrets. So the synopsis... Oh, also, she has written a bunch of books, which is cool. I've never read her before, though. In the sweltering summer of 1997, good time for a book to be set. Excellent time all around. I was 14. The less said about me as a 14-year-old, the better, I think, actually. Anyway, in the sweltering summer of 1997, straight-laced, straight-A student Karen met Bieber, a bohemian and impossibly glamorous aspiring actress. A few months later, 2 people were dead and another had been sent to prison. Having stood by Rex as he served his sentence, Karen is now married to him with a daughter, Alice, who runs a vintage clothing company in London. They're a normal family as long as they don't talk about the past, never mention the name Bieber, and ignore Alice's flashes of dark, dangerous fury. Karen has kept what really happened in that summer of 97 hidden deep inside her. Alice is keeping secrets of her own, but when anonymous notes begin to arrive at Alice's shop, it seems the past is about to catch up with them all. I am hoping this has flashbacks. I haven't started it. I haven't even really looked at it. It is definitely a dual narrative between Karen and Alice, and it looks like it's got some chapters that are in italics, And it looks like those are the flashbacks. Yeah, this is intriguing me. Like, even rereading what the synopsis is now, I'm kind of like, maybe this will be my next one after the Floating City one. Cool. All right, Elixir by Kapka Kasabova. I also got Border, and then I realised that I had it as an audiobook, so I took that back. In the Valley at the End of Time. Kapka Kasabova was like her first books of poetry, and it's very good. These are kind of non-fiction, natural history / cultural history. Yeah, she has a few books, and they all come highly recommended. In the Valley of Mesta, one of the oldest inhabited river valleys in Europe, where the surrounding forests and mountains are a nexus for plant gatherers, Kapka Kasabova finds a story with vast resonance for us all. Over several seasons, Kasabova spends time with the people of this magical region. She meets men and women who work in a long lineage of foragers, healers, and mystics. She learns about the wild plants and the ancient practice of herbalism and experiences a symbiotic system where nature and culture have blended for thousands of years. Through her captivating encounters, we come to feel the devastating weight of the ecological and cultural disinheritance that the people of this valley have suffered. Yet, in her search for elixir, she also finds reasons for hope. The people of the valley are keepers of a rare knowledge, not only of mountain plants and their properties, but also of how to transform collective suffering into healing. Yeah, I do have an interest in like herb medicine, herbalism kind of stuff. And I grow a lot of my own herbs and dry them for various witchy things, which is quite fun. So yeah, so I think this will be lovely. Kasabova grew up in Bulgaria, but then she went to New Zealand for school, for uni, and since 2005 has lived in Scotland. And yeah, she has a bunch of books that are poetry, non-fiction, and fiction. So hopefully this is good, and I can listen to Border, pick up a couple of other of her books. I've got one of her poetry collections, but I haven't indulged myself yet. Next, another small one. This was recommended by Jane. She wrote Human Nature. I'll put her name on the screen as well. Anyway, it is Abandon Every Hope. Essays, I think it's In the Face of Death. Essays for the Dead. Okay, cool. By Hayley Singer, and this was a Stella Prize shortlist in 2024. And it is just a series of poems and short essays throughout it. The synopsis says, can anyone smell the suffering of souls, of sadness, of hell on earth? Hell, I imagine, has a smell that bloats into infinity, has a nasty sting of corpses. What was it Dante wrote? Abandon every hope? It's a lament, a deranged encyclopedia, and a diary of anxiety. How can anyone document the vastness of violence against animals in a bloated industrial age? Hayley Singer investigates the literatures of the slaughterhouse to map the contours of a world cut to pieces by organised and profitable death. In her compelling and poetic prose, Singer asks how we may write the life of the dead, the smell of an egg factory, the multi-species PTSD, of planetary harm and self-harm, and of the horror we make on Earth. Where does the slaughterhouse begin, and how can it end? So, given everything that's going on in the world today, and as we sit here and speak, I'm going to get political for a minute, so if you want to, anyway, but don't, because you should listen. So as we speak, thousands of Palestinian people in Gaza are being literally starved to death. And that is terrible. We've been watching this happen for 2 years. And it's only now in the final, what is being called the final stage of famine, where there is no coming back from it. There's like, even if they were, I've been told, even if they were given a buffet of food to eat now, the harm that has happened to these people's bodies, it can't just be solved by food anymore. That's what they mean by the final stage. And it's only now that governments around the world are actually saying they're going to do something, which is horrendous. And I'm not going to talk on it too long because I will upset myself. But yeah, we're watching a genocide in real time, and it's disgusting and horrible. And I feel so much for Palestine and some of the other areas of the world that are experiencing conflict at the moment. And I don't think that reading books like this actually helps me any. I've also been reading a lot of horror in the last 6 months directly as a result of what's happened in the world and in my own life in the last sort of 2 years. But I'm going to give over to it and sort of be like, hey, you know what? If the world is dark and disgusting, then the stuff I read can be dark and disgusting too. Yeah, little segue there, but anyway. The next is Colony by Annika Nolan. This came highly recommended. Burnt out from a demanding job and a bustling life in the city, Emily has left town to spend a few days in the country. Once there, in the peaceful, verdant hills down by the river, she encounters a mysterious group of 7 people, each with personal stories full of pain, alienation, and the longing to live differently. They are misfits, each in their own way, and are all led by the enigmatic and charismatic Sarah. How did they end up there? Are they content with the rigid roles they've been assigned? And what happens when an outsider appears and is initially drawn to their alternate lifestyle but cannot help stirring things up? Masterful blend of humour, emotion, unforgettable characters, and sharp social commentary. I know nothing about this book. I hadn't even read the synopsis until just then. It just came super recommended by a whole heap of bookstagrammers and YouTube bookstagrammers, book YouTubers.
Is there a word for us? Like, is there a collective noun for people who talk about books on YouTube? And yeah, what is it?
Put the comments down below what you think a collective noun for YouTubers who speak about books should be. That would be really interesting to find out. Anyway, yeah, so Colony. It sounds great. I mean, who doesn't want to run off and join a commune at the moment? And so these are the 3 new ones that I got today. Beyond Green, The Social Life of Australian Nature by Leslie Head. The idea of nature as it results to culture, society and humans has always been in constant flux and highly contested. Leslie Head interrogates the way the cultures of nature have operated in Australia across time and how these ways of thinking and being limit our capacity to deal with the challenges of climate change and biodiversity crisis. Drawing on her life's work and lessons she has picked up along the way, Head suggests that it's up to us to attentively listen, the better to destabilise and subvert dominant narratives, and to imagine new possibilities. She believes we have the Norse resources and lessons from Indigenous, settler descendant and immigrant cultures to reduce risk in the face of the unexpected and the unimaginable. So I have a friend that says, like, if World War III comes, she's just going to, like, we work together in Madu country up in the north of WA, and she says she's just going to go into the desert with the Madu people and the world can do whatever, which I think is a really good way of going about things. Honestly, I have been an anthropologist with this company for 2 years now, and I have learned so much about living in harmony with country, looking after country, and country looks after you is the kind of terminology that people use. And yeah, and also immigrant culture. A lot of places around the world are a lot more in touch with nature than we as Western society are. Australia is mainly condensed into cities around the coast. In Perth, we don't actually have good growing soil. We have something called Perth sands, which is found nowhere else in the world apart from here, but it is very sandy, non-nutritious soil, and it's actually quite hard to grow things here, apart from the natives, which are also not found anywhere else because they've evolved to live in Perth Sands. But yeah, I think this book, again, with how the world is today, I think kind of looking at how we can get back to nature a little more is only a good thing, right? 2 more to go. I caved and got Bury Our Bones in the Midnight Soil by V.E. Schwab. I was sold on this because someone told me it was like early Anne Rice. I have a sneaking suspicion that once I have read this, I'm going to say that as a 20-year-old, I would have loved it because that's when I was reading early Anne Rice. I have read every Anne Rice novel in existence, including her erotica, which is very good. And yeah, there was a time when I was quite obsessed with those different worlds. Now, not so much. Yeah, now I can kind of look at it and kind of see how pulpy a lot of it was. But yeah, I sort of got this from the library to harken back to the days of my late teens, early 20s, when I was happy to read pulpy all the time. 3 young women, their bodies planted in the same soil, their stories tangling like roots. This is a story about hunger, 1532, Santo Domingo de la Calzada. A young girl grows up wild and wily, and Maria knows she can only ever be a pawn in men's games, so when an alluring stranger offers an alternate path, Maria makes a desperate choice. This is a story about love. 1827 London, a young woman lives a cloistered life on her family's estate until a moment of forbidden intimacy sees her shipped off to London. Once there, a beautiful widow offers her freedom, but at what cost? This is a story about rage. 2019 Boston. College was supposed to be a fresh start, that's why Alice moved halfway across the world, but then an out-of-character one-night stand leaves her questioning everything. Alice throws herself into the hunt for answers and revenge. This is a story about life, how it ends, and how it starts again. I am confused because it says 3 young women, their bodies planted in the same soil, and then the stories happen in 3 different places. Might be some liberties taken. And it's to the ones who hunger for love, for time, or simply to be free. We'll see how we go. I'm not expecting much. Finally, there is another non-fiction, Their Plant Eyes. I know you can't see it because there's got the interlibrary loan sticker on it. It's from City of Melville, so thanks City of Melville Library. Their Plant Eyes. The grammar, is that what it is? Is it grammar? Like it's making me irritable that it's that there. Anyway, for millennia, blindness has been used to signify thoughtlessness, blind faith, irrationality, blind rage, and unconsciousness, blind evolution. At the same time, blind people have been othered as the recipients of special powers as compensation for lost sight. From the poetic gifts of John Milton to the heightened senses of the comic book hero Daredevil. Combining analysis of blindness in art, culture, and history with her own story of gradually losing her sight in this genre-defying work, M. Leona Godden probes the ways in which blindness has shaped our ocular-centric world and challenges deeply ingrained ideas about what it really means to be blind. I have glaucoma, just as an aside. I am currently wearing contact lenses, but I am a plus 3.5 in glasses. And yeah, if I'm not wearing something to correct my vision, I can't see hardly anything at all. But yeah, I got diagnosed with glaucoma about 1.5 years ago. So eventually I will go blind from that. At the moment it's under control, but the eye doctor likes to tell me that eventually I will be blind. So I got a little book on like how to learn Braille and like all that kind of stuff. But also because it's under control now, I'm not really putting much into that. But I thought this would be an interesting read about blindness. It's a personal and cultural history of blindness, I think. Yeah, personal and cultural history of blindness. M. Leona Godden. Yeah, I just thought it would be interesting to read and see what blind people, well, this particular blind person thinks. Anyway, that is everything I've got for you guys today. Have you read any of these? Comment down below if you have. If you want to read any of these, I do suggest that you check them out of your local library because it is free and it ups their budget every time you borrow something. So thanks, Mandurah Library, and I will see you guys in the next one.